P4L. We've been saying that since 2020. People have been saying that since 2020 when Netflix released Outer Banks. And we've been saying that for many years up to this very day. But we were saying in the past few years, we were saying P4L while the series was coming out. This is the first time we have, in recent days, been saying P4L following the conclusion of the show. Outer Banks came to a conclusion on August 20th in the UK and in the US on Netflix. Over the course of the 5 years over the course of the 5 years of the show, over the course of the 6 years of the show and the 5 seasons, we have seen multiple high octane treasure hunting adventures with our favourite Pogues and our favourite honorary Pogues in Kiara and Sarah Cameron. We got to experience these multiple treasure hunting experiences with these new characters. So to say that it's not, so for these treasure hunting escapades to now be over is sad. But all good things must come to an end. This is my channel. This is my channel, give it a run. And in today's video on my channel, we have a first. This is my first ever Outer Banks video on my channel. I have not done an Outer Banks video on my channel before today. So, when you haven't covered a topic ever on your YouTube channel, one of the best types of videos you can do when it comes to a TV show is a character ranking. So my first ever Outer Banks video on this channel is a series character ranking. We have 31 Outer Banks characters split into multiple categories just to make this video much easier to follow, not just for you guys but also for myself. So we're going to go through each category quickly and the characters that fit into those categories, or the characters we put into these categories, because some of these characters do fit into most of the categories. But I wanted to specifically put them into the categories they were related to the most. So, first, we have the other category. This is for the characters of Barry, Terence, Carla Limbry, Renfield, Carl Singh, Leitner, Dahlia, and the most recent villain of the Outer Banks series, Finch. Then we have Police. This is for two characters, obviously, Sheriff. Seasons 2 to 5, and Deputy Season 1, Shoop, and Sheriff Peterkin from Season 1. Then we also have the Kooks in Topper Thornton, Ward Cameron, Rafe Cameron, Weezy Cameron, Season 5 main villain Chandler Groff, Rose Cameron, Kels, Mike Carrera, Anna Carrera, Wes Jenrette, and Rufy. Then we have the Pogues in Sophia, Hayward, Pope's dad, Big John, and Luke. And then we have the main characters of John B, Sarah Cameron, Pope Hayward, Kiara Carrera, JJ Maybank, and Cleo. So those are the character groupings to make it easy for you to follow this video and to make it easy for me to follow what I'm doing. Hopefully this does help you follow the video better. But before we get into the character tier list, before we get into putting these characters into the tier list, we have to actually reveal the tier list. So the tier list has 5 tiers. At the bottom is Cook's Shame. This is for the bad characters who would give shame to the name Cook. Then we have just above is Kookish. This is for the characters that aren't the worst, but they're not any better. Somewhere in the cut is for the middle tier characters. Somewhere in the cut is for the middle tier characters who are not bad but are not good. Pogue material. This is for the good characters that can be welcomed into Poguelandia. And then top tier, Pogues for life. This is for the best of the best characters in the Outer Banks franchise, in the Outer Banks series, who are obviously P4L. Pogues for life. So those are the tiers for this tier list video. And now, drumroll, it's time to get started. Okay, up first is Barry. Rafe's friend slash drug dealer. Barry, you can't really get more morally questionable as a drug dealer. He did some very, very bad things over the course of the series. He once pulled a gun up on one of our Pogues. Obviously selling drugs. Obviously selling the drug stuff. That comes natural. That is obviously a bad thing. And, you know, he's done some questionable things over the course of the series, including, like I said, pulling a gun up on one of our Pogues and doing the drug dealing. But in the end, Barry got his redemption and became good friends with John B, and even happily attended John B's wedding. For season 1 to 4, Barry is obviously bottom 2 tiers, but due to his redemption and due to him being on good terms with John B come the end of the series, despite what he did to John B, Barry is going in. So Barry is going in to, I'm going to be saying this all the time, somewhere in the cut. Next up we have Terrence. Terrence introduced in season 2. Terrence, introduced in season 2, was a boat. Cargo was the driver of the cargo boat. Of the cargo boat that Rafe and Ward used to transport the Golden Cross. But he also, in episode 1 of season 2, was the one to save John B and Sarah following the season 1 finale. Originally, Terrence wanted to hand John B and Sarah in to get the reward money. He didn't go ahead with that, and eventually he helped them find their way back to their friends. And he ended up helping John B and Sarah find their way back to JJ, Kiara, and Pope. And alongside it, introduced us to the wonderful Clea. His fate came to an end. His fate came, though, in season 4, where he was shot by one of the main villains of the show, and bled out. But he bled out, having done his bestest to help out John B and Sarah. And he went out as a good character. So Terrence goes in to Bogue Material. Next up, Carla Limbri, a secondary villain of season 3, a secondary villain of season 2. We have our first character that I'm like, we have our first character that I'm a bit unsure on. She helped Big John, or aka John Routledge, find John B. But she also gave a bit of trouble to Pope, JJ and Kiara when they travelled to Charleston. And after taking the life, after killing her help, who we'll get to next, she was never to be seen again she was never to be seen again in the show. So yeah, helped one of our heroes reunite with his dad, but threatened 3 of our other heroes and made their life hell. So for Carla Limbri, we'll put her in Kookish. Her assistant, her help, on the other hand, Renfield. Renfield chased after JJ, Kiara and Pope. Betrayed Carla. Rash, reckless. Kook Shame. He's a bad person. Good character. Bad person. Kook Shame. Speaking of Kook Shame, we have Carlos Singh. Great villain. Great antagonist. Great character. Bad person. And yes, main villain of season 3 used Kiara and Rafe to help him find El Dorado. El Dorado was found. Carlos Singh tried to stop John B, Sarah, and Big John from escaping the cave where they found El Dorado. And going after his mission, he gets blown up in the series 3 finale. So yeah, Kook Shame, another person who goes into Kook Shame, like now one of the Corsairs, one of the Corsage? But yes, so we have Lightner up next. He was one of the main villains of season 4 and was part of the organization. The mercenary organization, the Lupine Corsairs. Let's just say he died the way he was introduced, as a bad person. So, coot shame it is. His boss for season 4, Dahlia, is not anyway in shape or form a better. She's not a better person. She is questionable at best. When it comes to her, when it comes to her morality, she's evil, but she's doing her job. And in the end, she doesn't really provide a villainous threat to the Pogues in season 5, despite them both going for the same thing, the Blue Crown. More of Dahlia's villainous arc was tangled. More of the villainous side of Dahlia in season. Dahlia collided with the Pogues in season 5, but her villainous arc was more involved with Chandler Groff than the Pogues. The Pogues were obviously part of her villainous arc in season 5, but she more was a villain or an antagonist for Chandler Groff. Yet, even so, she is outright evil, so she goes in Cook's shame. And then finally, for the other section, we have Finch. Finch was the main villain was the secondary main villain of season 5 behind Chandler Groff, and was the leader of the Lupine Corsairs, and was looking for the Blue Crown. So his mission to find the Blue Crown meant he ran into paths with the Kooks, meant he ran into paths with the Pogues. He provided a decent threat in the final season, but in the end, his final scene was in episode 7. He didn't have any part to play in the final episode, and could have been used a lot more in the final season. But he's a good character, but he's also a bad person. So I'm going to give him slight leniency because he wasn't in season 5 much, by putting him in Kookish. Next up, we have the police. And it is Sheriff, formerly Deputy Shoop. Shoop is the definition of an up and down character. Up and down character. He has his good moments. He has his bad moments. But in the end, he's just doing his job. His worst moment came for me in the early season when he, framed John B for the murder of Sheriff Peterkin, despite evidence proving that Rafe was the one who killed her. So yeah, that was, for me, the worst thing he did. And when it came to the Pogues getting to their destination of their big adventure, he got in the way a couple of times. He got in the way a couple of times, especially in season 4 when there was a warrant for JJ's arrest following the craziness of episode 5. And yeah, he tried to stop the Pogues while they were on their way to Morocco to face off against Chandler Goff before JJ's untimely death. In season 5, he was put in some danger. In the season 5 finale, during the big storm of the episode, he is trapped underneath. He's trapped underneath some heavy artillery. Not the weapon sort of artillery, but nature artillery. And after being saved by Rafe and Shoop made a deal that once everything shit was done, that Rafe would be allowed to be left and would be allowed to leave the Outer Banks without facing charges for Sheriff Peterkin's death. Because obviously, in season 5, the truth was revealed about Sheriff Peterkin's death, and that it was Rafe and not John B. So yeah, questionable moments. He's had some good moments. He's had some questionable moments, but in the end, Shoop was present there in the final episode at John B's funeral, and yeah, in the end, you can't fault him for doing his job. And also, he did have to deal with crazy people like Ward and Rafe. So yeah, for Shoop, I'm going to put him, because of his redemption and being present at John B's wedding, I'm going to put him in Pogue material. As for Sheriff Peterkin, the sheriff of the first season, dying in the final episode of the first season at the hands of Rafe, she did her job as a character. She was also a good person and a good friend to Shoop. But yeah, she was killed off in season 1, the season she was introduced in. So I can't rank her anywhere but somewhere in the cut. Okay, next category after other and police is the kooks. We're going to get through some of these very quickly because you guys know some of the shit that these kooks did. First kook on the board is Topper. Topper's rivalry with John B. Topper's rivalry with John B was a really good rivalry. It was a really good rivalry that was well thought out over the course of the 5 seasons. And he did some shit. He did some bad shit, like setting ablaze setting ablaze John B's home, which could have killed him and Sarah. He also was happy to let his girlfriend try and murder a bunch of turtles. But in the end, we see him in the finale, and he's friends with John B, or is at least on good terms with John B, after all the shit that happened between the two. And yeah, I don't think he got a redemption. I wouldn't call it a redemption. I wouldn't say he was given a redemption, but he was certainly saved by the final scene of season 5. So yeah, Cook. Remember, this is based on character, and this is based on a multitude of factors. And even though he is a kook, I like him a lot. So he goes in Pogue material. Ward, again, the villain of the first 3 seasons, a overarching antagonist of the first 3 seasons of the show. Ward started out, it was introduced as a good character, until John B went on a boat with him and he revealed his true colours and tried to murder John B. He even framed John B for Chef Peterkin's murder to save Rafe. He did some shit things to John B, but especially to Sarah. And by season 3, Sarah was done with her dad. But Ward was not done. Ward was not done with Sarah, and in the season 3 finale, he sacrificed his life when Sarah was on the verge of being shot in the head. So in the end, he somewhat redeemed himself. So he goes into somewhere in the cut. Next up, Rafe, the first entrant. The first entrant on Two Pogues for life. A redemption arc is not what I expected from this guy, but he got a redemption arc. Season 1, he started out as Sarah's brother, and he was good. He was a good character in the first season. Then they started to turn him into an antagonist, and as an antagonist, he did some bad shit. He tried to kill Sarah by drowning her. He obviously killed Chef Peterkin. Yeah. He just... So yeah, he did some shit stuff. But in the shit stuff he did, he found love with Sophia, who we'll get to soon. And Sophia eventually was the reason why I believe Rafe changed the person in the late seasons. In season 4, he goes with the Pogues to Morocco to help them. And despite somewhat betraying them by going with Chandler, he ended up pushing Chandler into a well. And after a redemption, after a reconciliation between him and Sarah in Morocco, one of the most emotional scenes of the series, he ended up joining the Pogues for one final adventure in season 5, basically being the replacement for the dead JJ. So in the end, he's a questioning moral character, but he got a redemption, and that redemption was pulled off when he saved the life of Shoop, despite despite, him being a wanted man for the murder of Sheriff Biedergen. And eventually, in the end, Rafe got a somewhat happy ending by getting to sail off out of Outer Banks and out of America to spend life with Sophia, while hoping to keep in contact with his daughter and Sarah, with his niece and Sarah over the phone. So yeah, Rafe posed for life. So yeah, Rafe is the first recipient in Pogues for Life. Wheezy, an underrated character in the show, the little sister of Sarah. Wheezy did nothing bad, but lots of good. She helped Sarah multiple times, despite Sarah being disowned by her entire family, by the rest of her family. She even shot at Chandler Groff in the final season, and she got to become probably one of the youngest aunts you'll ever see, with Sarah's daughter incoming, with Sarah's kid incoming. Wheezy was there, present at Sarah and John B's wedding, and yeah, so yeah, Wheezy is a great character and a good person and a good little sister to Sarah. So we're going to put her, Wheezy, into Pogue material. Chandler Groff. All I can say is, F him. Killed JJ for no effing reason. No effing reason. There was no reason why he killed JJ, other than the fact that to kill JJ. They never revealed why he killed JJ. And that's unacceptable that he got to kill JJ and the show didn't reveal why he shot and killed JJ, why he stabbed and killed JJ. And he ended up getting his comeuppance in the final episode of season 5, where he is dropped into the ocean, drowning. Thanks to Kiara. So Kiara got her revenge on Chandler Groff for killing JJ by killing him. You can't get any better than that. And yeah, Cook Shame, even though he's a great villain and a great character, you just hate him, and he killed JJ. So yeah, Cook Shame. Next up is Rose. This is Rose Cameron, aka Sarah's stepmom. Rose was just playing the wife to Ward, and she played it well. And in the end, just like a lot of the characters and a lot of the Kooks got a redemption, and was present there for Sarah and John B's wedding, and I think she'll be a great aunt to Sarah's kid. So yeah. Played a part in the show, played a part in Outer Banks, and ultimately I think deserved the redemption, because she didn't really do anything like super bad. So she goes into Pogue material. Next up, Kels. We didn't see him in season 5. Best friend to Topper. A nothing character, unfortunately. I like him, but he's still a nothing character. But somewhere in the cut seems fair enough. Mike Carrera, Kiara's dad. I think that just like many people hated Mike in the first couple of the seasons for what he did to Kiara. I know Mike had his problems with JJ, but in the end, he should have been like to himself, I want my daughter happy. I may not like it, but I want my daughter happy. Did Mike make her daughter happy? Did Mike allow her daughter to be happy in the first couple of seasons? No. Because he always expressed his hatred of JJ and how he didn't like Kiara hanging out with JJ or any of the kooks as well, or any of the other Pogues. But in the end, just like a lot of the kooks, which was surprising, got a redemption. And Kiara rewarded his redemption by giving him and wife Anna a boat with her kook money. And in the end, I think he'll make a great role model to Sarah's daughter. So, Mike, despite all the shit that happened in the first couple of seasons, is going in. Pogue material, slightly under him, and in somewhere in the cut is going to be his wife, Anna. She was more morally questionable than Mike. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, Anna, the more morally questionable than her dad, Anna more morally questionable than her husband, Mike. And yeah, just like Mike, did not like Kiara hanging out with the Pogues, especially JJ. So yeah, it's yeah, Anna was not the best mum to Kiara, and yeah, not the best mum to Kiara, but in the end, just like Mike, she got a redemption, and Kiara, for that redemption, gave her and Mike a boat. But Mike had one moment in Outer Banks where I truly felt the redemption. So Anna is going in somewhere in the cut. Yeah. Next up, we got two final kooks. We have Wes Jenrette, introduced in the first episode, introduced in the first episode, the final episode of season 3 and the first episode of season 4. He was the person who who told the Pogues about Blackbeard and hired them to help him find the Blue Crown. But yeah. Yeah. He died before he could really do anything of note, so he goes in kookish. Final kook is Ruthie, girlfriend to Topper in season 4. I don't like her. I do not like her. So yeah, Ruthie, I hate her. Bottom tier, kook shame. Sophia, Wraith's girlfriend, now wife. I like Sophia. She's a Pogue turned kook, which is crazy because so far before her we had only gotten kooks to Pogues with Kiara and Sarah. So this was our first cat who went from a Pogue to a kook due to becoming Wraith's girlfriend. She was there for Wraith in season 5, and provided one good element of Wraith as a person. I have to give her a lot of credit to that. So she goes in Pogue material. Next up is Hayward, Pope's dad. Him and Pope never didn't really see eye to eye, but in the end, Pope didn't care, and he gifted Hayward a big old seafood place with his kook money. So yeah, Hayward, not the best dad, but a good dad. So somewhere in the kook. Next up is Big John, John B's dad. I was happy that when John B was reunited with his dad in season 3 of the show, after we found out he was alive. But I was disappointed with how they used his character in season 3. He did some questionable things on his way to helping Sarah and John B find El Dorado. So that's a big negative for her character, but for his character. But in the end, he was always a good dad to John B. And his death was very, very tragic. So yeah, he was supposedly dead in the first 2 seasons, was revealed to be alive in season 3, but died at the end. So there's nothing really I can say more about him. So he goes in somewhere in the kook. Final Pogue is JJ's adopted dad, Luke. Credit to Luke for taking in a baby boy and raising him to be a decent human being, to being a very good human being. But outside of raising JJ to be a decent human being, a good human being, his problem was drinking and stuff. So, and I think drinking is a bad way to cope with life. Yeah. Luke did a good job raising JJ, but after raising JJ, I don't think he helped JJ progressed as a character. JJ became better as a person because of himself, not his dad. So yeah, he also kept the secret from JJ that he was a kook and not a pogue. But yeah, for me, he goes into kookish. Okay, we've done the kook, we've done the pogues, we've done the kooks, we've done the police, and we've done the characters that fit in the other category. Which means we're down to the final category of characters, and this is the main characters. The characters that we followed, well, the 5 characters that we followed across the course, the 4 characters we followed over the course of the full 5 seasons, the 1 character that we followed over the course of 4 seasons, and the 1 character that we followed over the course, and the 2 characters. So yeah, the 4 characters we followed over the course of 5 seasons, and 2 characters we followed over the course of 4 seasons. Starting with the 2 4-season characters, we have we have Cleo, introduced in season 2 of Outer Banks. She was working under Terrence, who we talked about earlier. Eventually joined the posers, joined joined our group of main characters. And season 3 onwards, she was present there as a main character, and yeah, played her part in the multitude of treasure hunting adventures she was involved in, and yeah, found Pope. They dated. They became girlfriend and boyfriend. They're now in a good relationship. They're married. They're living well in Tannehill. And yeah, Cleo, Pogues for life. JJ, for me, the most complicated character across Outer Banks. Reckless, crazy, charming. There's nothing that this guy wasn't. The only thing that for this character that wasn't is an appearance in season 5. His death may go down as one of the most tragic Netflix original TV show character deaths. The scene of Kiara crying into JJ's arms and then the rest of his friends finding out he was dead was one of the saddest scenes of the show. And yeah, JJ will always be, even though no longer alive, he will always be a P for it. He will always be a Poe for life, despite being revealed to be a kook in season 4. Pogues for life. Next up, Kiara. Kiara, what's more to say about Kiara? Great character, great person. For the 1 season that they were together, great girlfriend to JJ, great friend to both Pope and John B, and her arc with Sarah, starting out as rivals in season 1, before becoming friends in the same season, and then going on to become best friends over the course of the remaining 4 seasons was awesome. Loved it, and she got to be the main focus of season 5, which was awesome. So yeah, Kiara goes into Pogues for life. Then we have Pope. Great character, great person. Love his friendship with John B and Pope and JJ. Love his loving relationship with Cleo. Very happy to see him get married to Cleo, and very happy to see him and Cleo living life in Tannehill. And yeah, Pope, just like Kiara, JJ, and Cleo, Pogues for life. Finally, we have Sarah. Finally, we have our final 2 characters. First up, our penultimate character, Sarah. Sarah Cameron. the kook, disowned by her family, becomes a Pogue, unofficially marries John B, has a kid, is now officially married to John B, and in the end, despite all the shit that was done to her by him, forgave and reconciled with Rafe. So, Sarah Cameron, who will make the best mum, you are the second best character of Outer Banks. And you go in both for life. John B, I think he's one of the best lead characters I have watched in a TV show. And that all the credit goes to Chase Stokes, who's such a great actor. He makes John B charming. He makes John B a person you want to follow. And despite all the shit that he was put through, he's found his way out the other side with a wife, a kid, and a life that he deserves, and a life that he worked for, and a life that hopefully he gets to live to the fullest. As the lead character, he's a lead character you look up to. As a lead character, he's a character you look up to, and most certainly deserves to be in Pogues for life. And now we have one final character, because I should have added, because I forgot to add this guy. I forgot to include this guy while I was setting up for this movie, for this video, and that is Dale. Dale. What's to say about Dale? What's to say about Dale in Outer Banks? Season 4, Season 5, he is a bad guy. A good bad guy, but a bad person. I don't like him as a person. Even though he was doing his job, he was cocky. He was annoying. And what happened to him? What happened to Dale? Well, Dale got the best end his character could have had. And that is being arrested. So Dale, I actually think could be up there as the worst character in the show. Goes into Cook's Shane. So that's our tier list ranking the Outer Banks characters with every character in their tier. Let's go through each tier and the characters in that tier one final time. In Cook's Shane, we have Renfield, Carlos Singh, Shooter, Carlos Singh, Lightner, Dahlia, Chandler Groff, Ruthie, and Dale. In Kookish, we have Carla Limbry, Finch, Wes Jenrette, and Luke. In Somewhere in the Cut, we have Barry, Sheriff Peterkin, Ward Cameron, Kels, Anna Carrera, Hayward, and Big John Rowledge. In Pogue material, we have Terrence, Sheriff / Deputy Shoop, Topper Thornton, Wheezy, Rose Cameron, Mike Carrera, and Sophia. And then in Pogues for Life, we have Rafe, Cleo, JJ, Kiara, Pope, Sarah, and John B, who for me are easily the best 7 characters in the show. If I had to give a ranking for the characters in the show, from worst to best, at the bottom, in 7th, I would have Cleo. In 6th, I would have Wraith. In 5th, I would have Key. In 4th, I would have Pope. In 3rd, I would have JJ. In 2nd, I would have Sarah. And easily the best character of the show, Mr. John B. Rutledge. And that's the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to know when I release new videos. And let me know in the comment section if you want to see me do more Outer Banks videos. As like I said at the start of this video, this is my first Outer Banks themed video. Put down in the comment section if you want to see more Outer Banks videos after this one, my very first Outer Banks video. But until my next video, until the next video on my channel, I've been Gibby O'Brien, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.